Hello everyone. I welcome you today's session of Let's Speak the Coding Language. The agenda for today would be file and error handling in Python, how we file, how we write file, what other things we can do with files, and if while doing all this stuff we encountered some errors, how to en- how to handle those errors. So there might be some exceptions, how we work on those exceptions. Before starting file handling, we have to know what files are. So we all already know from the traditional files where we had to store our documents in a particular folder to current files which are inside our systems, which again does the same thing. The files include some data which is required by us. We can have access to that data whenever as per our wish, just to access that file. So the file handling techniques or file handling methods that we'll be seeing today would be how to open file, how to read file. So our nomenclature would be open, file name, and the mode. So first, let's use our Google Colab for coding. I have already made a new collab with file and error handling name. So first of all, we are going to write a file. This class would be again very interesting. You just have to be focused. So to write a file, we'll use f is equal to open example dot txt. This example dot txt would be under double quotes. Then since we are going to write a file, so we'll use w, which is used for writing a file. Now, since we are writing f dot write what we want to write in that file. So let's write Singh Teaches AI. So this string would be written in this file. Then we'll close the file. Let's see if this works. Since this is a new file, new IPYNB file, it will take a little time to execute. It says it's done. The file is written. Now, once the file is written, now we have to open the file. So if it is written, how can we check or how can we read? So now we'll be reading the file. To read the file with same name, I'll be using f is equal to open. Okay, it is giving me some pre-defined things. The entire code was provided to me. Example.txt. Now, here it was W for writing. Now for read, the nomenclature says it is yes, R. So writing R in single quotes. Rest would be F. This time it is read. Then is F dot close. Let's see. It is reading, but is still not showing it. So how to print it, how to show it? Let's add something called content here. So we have stored this function in content. Now let's print content. It's giving it already. Let's print content. Will it show us this time? It shows us Singh Teaches AI from this file. So the way to write into a file, this function or this program can be used to write into a file, and this function would be used to read out what's written in the file. Now there are certain lines, for example, uh, in the in same say, all right, to make certain lines, what I have to do, I have to add more content into this file. And how can I add that more content into the file? With the function called, I'll just add it here. We can append content into the file. So when you append something, that means you are adding into the space where there's already some data. You are appending, you are adding it into it. Or it's showing the formula already once you append. Now what I want to append here is, say, let's append 2025. Also, let's add a tweet, or let's add sing only, and then it will also read it. So here I am appending the file, and then it will read. And now you see Sing Teaches AI 2025 and Sing is appended. You can add this into next line using n for next line. Invalid syntax. All right. All right. Let it be this way only. In the same line. All right. Now, if there are multiple lines in a code and you want to read the code line by line, what you will be doing, so our agenda now is read line by line. So we'll use file. Okay, it's providing it open, then lines. It's not lines, for line in lines, print line. All right. So it's talking about multiple lines. We'll first of all we'll do it for single line. So we know we have to read, but what we have to read, we'll make it simpler. Print file dot read line. It's again providing me the full code. Perfect. It's exactly the same code that it is showing. When it shows how you complete it, you just press tab and it will show. All right, let's see if this executes. Singh Teaches AI, Sing 2025, Sing. So now it is reading it line by line. Now, if I want to use a loop, can we use loop in file handling? Sure, why not? Let's use loop with readline function. So now file would be, all right, it is providing it already, example.txt. Read is for read, for line in file, print line, close. It's showing the content. Now, sometimes you have spaces while you do it in blocks. Say if it's multiple lines and you get spaces in between. To remove those spaces, you just say, you just add strip function here. Once you add the strip function, okay, it's in same line, but once it is in multiple lines, you can use strip function and it will remove the extra spacing. There's another thing called content context manager. So we'll see use of context manager. When we talk about context manager, we'll use a keyword with. So now we are not defining file with word file. We are saying with open example.txt as a file, for line in file, print line strip, and it will do same thing but now with context manager. It's not context manager. So what context manager is doing, it is reading plus appending plus reading again with a single code. You're not doing it with multiple codes. So these were the major file handling processes. With the read, we can read the file. With write, we write or make a file. With append, we add things into the files which is already there. Context manager makes it easier. Even the length of the code is decreased and it does the read and does the write and read in same code. Talking about the error handling. In error handling, if I use the same code, say this is the code, if it's if I use the same code and I by mistake I mistype the name example, instead of example I wrote example1.txt. Will it work? It says file not found. This is the error that it is throwing to us. Now, how we can handle such kind of exceptions or errors? I don't want to see this error thing. For that, what I'll do, I'll add something called try, and with in try, let's add try here only. So I'll add try. So this is still with the wrong name, except, and in except I'll write print file cannot be opened. Let's see if this error vanishes now. Okay, try and accept. Some silly mistakes that are always repeated. So now it says file cannot be opened. It's not throwing that hefty message. So that's how you handle errors. Is there any other way to handle the errors? Why not? There's one more thing while handling errors. One example where here you are not just using try and accept, you are also using else and finally. So you use try, you provided that if uh, there's an error, if there is an accept, if there's an error, say error empty data list. If it is invalid data types, then show invalid data types. Else processed result, you have to show process result. And finally, the data processing finished. This will be the end line of your code. So that's another example where you see the try accept thing, but now it also has else and finally. Now let's just use this example only. Let's see if we can make this code work. Why it's not pasting it? Anyways, I'll generate with AI write a code to show functions. Which functions? Try, accept, else, and finally or final in same code. So it has shown us. Let's it says that if accept is not working, then it will move to else. If else is not working, it will move to finally. So file cannot be opened, file not found error. This is what it ran accept. This always executes. That means whatever be the condition, this will always execute. Finally would be added in the last. This finally you can also add in the code above, but you have to take into account the syntax. So here it says file cannot be opened. This always executes. That's what try accept else finally says. So if accept is not working, it will move to else, and the final statement would be provided by finally. So I hope this was a little more informative to you how to handle files and how to handle errors in Python. We'll see more in our next classes. Till then, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the channel. If you like the content, I can always be reached at singhteachesai@gmail.com. Till we meet again, thanks a lot for your time. Happy learning. Bye bye.